So the Knuckles show premiered on Paramount Plus, a mini-series that takes place between Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and 3. Knuckles was considered by many, myself included, to be the standout of the second movie, and as a longtime fan of the Sonic franchise, this was really great to see, because for way too long now, I feel the video games have been flanderizing their characters. Knuckles is often reduced to a fool, Tails a coward, and Shadow a pretty one-dimensional villain, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2 felt like a return to form for these characters. And I'm excited to see what they do with Shadow in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. But as for this show, I was really excited to see what they would do with Knuckles, and how they would expand on his character. And I would say that overall I enjoyed the show, but I was a little disappointed too. Knuckles was pretty consistently great throughout the series. It's just that the series ended up focusing more on Wade than Knuckles, especially in the latter half of the show, despite him being the title character, which just isn't what I and many other fans wanted to see. I thought the first few episodes were really good. It focuses on Knuckles trying and largely failing at trying to get acclimated to life on Earth, and I really enjoyed his interactions with Sonic. Sonic has been on the planet for most of his life at this point, but his playful nature is a stark contrast to Knuckles' stoicism. Knuckles is pretty much always on guard, and Sonic tries to break him of that habit. But I also feel like Sonic and the others are failing to communicate with Knuckles, despite their efforts to reach out. For example, in the second movie, the fight between Sonic and Knuckles left much of the house destroyed, so Maddie hires workers to come and fix it. But it seems like they didn't explain to Knuckles that this was going on, and he mistakes the workers for attackers. But then they say this is the 4th time this has happened.
Oh boy. Poor guys. That's the 4th crew this month.
No one bothered to explain this to him? Even now, they're not explaining how things work, how these people have a function, and how it's not in his best interest to attack them. Instead, they just tell him to relax, which he just doesn't understand. He doesn't even really seem to understand the concept of relaxing and fun, which makes sense given his backstory. He never really got to experience those things, so when he's told to make himself at home, he just turns the house into a gladiator arena and kidnaps the mailman. And then instead of explaining why that was a bad thing to do, they just ground him, and then again telling him to use this time to relax. If they want to get through to him, they need to do more than that. And I was hoping the series would focus on the Wachowskis being able to really connect with him and the others as a family. However, this was the only episode that actually took place at the Wachowskis' home, with Sonic, Tails, and Maddie not appearing in the rest of the series. I guess for whatever reason, they couldn't get James Marsden for the show, so he doesn't appear at all, with Maddie saying that he's out of town, and doesn't elaborate beyond that. Instead, the series largely shifts focus to Wade. Knuckles is able to connect to the spirit of his tribe's leader, Pachacamac, which is apparently something he can do, and as a longtime fan, it is cool to see him. He's voiced by Christopher Lloyd, but he's also the only other character from the Sonic franchise we actually get to see, and I was kind of hoping to see others, like Tycho, but no, all the other characters are human, which is pretty underwhelming, and even more so when everything becomes largely Wade-centric. Anyway, Pachacamac tells Knuckles to take on an apprentice to teach him the ways of the Echidna, otherwise their culture could die out, and he chooses Wade as his apprentice. Wade's current drama is that he was kicked out of his bowling team, and the big championship is this week. So this is what the show ends up being about. Knuckles promises to teach him to become a warrior so he can go and win his big championship in Reno, Nevada. And it becomes an odd couple buddy comedy, where they go on a road trip to Reno while being chased by gun agents, and getting caught up in Wade's family drama. Yeah, not exactly what I was hoping for. On top of that, Knuckles was supposed to be grounded this entire time, but at no point do Maddie, Sonic, or Tails ever look for him. And he shares a room with Sonic and Tails, so they had to have noticed that he was missing, but there's no indication, at least on screen, that they're looking for him or worried at all. So good job, guys. I was really hoping for some family bonding, but instead we get the Whipples instead of the Wachowskis, and some really expansive Wade lore. Don't get me wrong, I like Wade as a character and I appreciate his development, but I don't think it needed to come at Knuckles' expense. There are whole episodes dedicated to him and him alone, and even the finale feels like it's more Wade-focused than Knuckles, to the point where when Knuckles does declare Earth his home, it just doesn't exactly feel convincing, in my opinion. I feel like they were trying to parallel Wade and Knuckles' journey. A commonality between both characters is that they lost their fathers young. Knuckles' dad was cut down in battle, while Wade's walked down in his family, so Knuckles' character journey involves him being able to let go of the past and let himself have a new home and family. Likewise, Wade is also hung up on his past. His father abandoned him at a TJ Maxx, And despite him cutting off contact with his family, Wade's still desperate for a relationship with him, to the point where he doesn't really appreciate the family that he does still have, although the sister is honestly insufferable. Her entire character pretty much boils down to her bullying Wade, and acting like a complete child despite being an adult. I thought they were going to give the two of them some kind of character moment when they work out their issues. It's pretty obvious that his sister, whose name is Wanda, sees herself in competition with Wade, but we don't find out why. She's just obnoxious throughout. Especially considering how much time Wanda took up, it would have been nice if they had given her some depth. There were times where Knuckles was having a conversation, but instead of focusing on that, despite Knuckles being the title character, they were focusing on Wade and Wanda's petty argument. Then there's Wade's dad. It turns out one of the major reasons why he had his heart set on going to this tournament in Reno is because he knew his father would be there. It's pretty obvious that he's just a deadbeat and a total shyster, but Wade just can't see it. He was played by Cary Elwes though, and I didn't know he was in this, and I'm a big fan of his. Yeah, it's The Princess Bride. I love The Princess Bride. There were aspects about this show that I really enjoyed, like seeing Knuckles gliding. It was really cool to see that brought over from the games, and the return of his classic hat, but even here, Wade is the one who earned it in a duel, and then gave it to Knuckles. And it would have been way cooler if we could have seen Knuckles earn it himself. There was also a lot of copyrighted music, but I didn't really hear anything from the video games, and I think it would have made a lot of sense to bring over some of that music too, but I liked the soundtrack a lot. The opening theme has this pretty cool visual effect, where they show Knuckles' adventures through these doodles on CDs, which is again more Wade-centric, but still a cool visual. There was one episode where it was dedicated to a rock opera, where Wade is going on this spiritual journey to find out what it truly means to be a warrior and where his power comes from. It was definitely interesting. The music and production value did have a charm to it, although there was some continuity issues. They go over Knuckles' backstory, and they claim that Knuckles was fighting alongside his father and the other warriors against the Owls, and he watched him die. But that's not actually what happened. In the movie, it shows that Knuckles was just a child, and his father told him to stay behind, which is what spared him from the fates of the other echidnas. I just find it confusing that the Knuckles show would get Knuckles' backstory wrong. Maybe Wade just wasn't totally aware of the situation? Still weird though. I'm not surprised this ended up being a mixed bag for people. I did enjoy it for what it was though, so that has to count for something. I hope we get more shows like this, so we can explore the dynamics between these characters more, but hopefully next time they'll actually focus on the title character. I wouldn't be against if they made more of Knuckles, especially now that Wade's story is wrapped up. But that's my opinion. What do you guys think? How did you feel about Knuckles? Do you think the series didn't handle him as well as they could have? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to our members: Tyrant Carnivore, Shiny Orc Boy, General Bolivar, Depth Charge Media, Samaru163, Gabby Hime, Verdant Range, JVR, Phil C, Taylor Ramirez, Dakari the Professor, Equestron, Norman Sweet Cream, Way Beyond Coincidence, Hunter Rose, 80s Nostalgia Guy, Felix Bam, Lucas Geist, J Draws, Meowsers, Sky, Jinke Z, Philip, Isaac Martinez, Garcia XV Legend, Datadyne Executive, Kitsune Fiora, Tobias Weller, Bandito Bane, Owen Wildish, Mac B909, and Caleb Nelson. Thank you all so much for your support. If you'd like to become a member, you can hit the join button next to the subscribe button. We also have Buy Me Coffee if you want to support us that way. If you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content. And that part's free. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.